Hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
21 days make a habit. Mad Hatters, welcome on our 21st episode. And we promise, may this bad habit of watching Mad Heart gets to you by now at least.
All right. On the count of three, two, one, let's do a clap. Three, two, one. Action.
So, just before this episode rolled, Sabika and I were trying to address not an elephant per se, but I want to say a herd of elephants. And in our manifesto, which is very there, wherever it is, we have made a pact that we will always, always be true to the moment and bring to you an episode straight from the Mad Heart. So I want to talk to Sabika about what to do when the communication breaks down between two friends, two lovers, any two people who matter. So let's go straight to it.
Okay, let's go straight to it. So, I think more often than not, there is this expectation of the other person is always the designated driver, and I would always want to be like the drunk one. Like I've always used this analogy that whenever it comes to being emotionally charged, people are the same as someone who's really high on anything, alcohol or otherwise. So, who's going to drive this car? And how do we ensure that we don't drive it into a ditch? So, yeah, I think one of the best things to address before you even start addressing a communication hurdle is who needs whom and who really needs to be looked out for in a situation. Because if both people are trying to get each other's attention, nobody has the attention basically. And then the gadi goes in the ditch.
Okay,
So,
can
I
I
think
pause you
maybe.
here for a second?
Hmm,
Let's play a quick game, okay? We
cool.
cover our eyes with our hand, okay? And we have to point, if you're pointing at yourself like this, if you're pointing at the other person like this, and I will ask a question, okay? Right.
Okay.
Okay.
But I have
All
to
right.
close my eyes and use my other hand, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Close your eyes and use your other hand. Okay, between you and me, who is a designated driver at the moment? Between
Who
you and
need
me, ha, go for it.
okay? Who needs to be driven, or who is the designated driver?
Are you? I mean, I already asked the question. Who is the designated driver at the moment? And I already
You are.
pointed.
Oh, who are you pointing at?
Oh God, Ari Baba, but did you also ask a question now? Then how will? Okay, anyway.
You are. You are the designated driver.
So, I think you're very right when you say that in a relationship or a collaboration or any kind of, for example, I wake up at any time between 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock. That is how late I wake up. And I'm very blessed to have in laws who never, ever bat an eyelid about it. I know it freaks my parents out that I get up so late. um, I know that my mother-in-law is my designated driver until 11 o'clock. And until
Oh,
11 o'clock,
this is why you're the designated driver. Okay.
it just showed to me that Sabika took a snapshot. Let's keep doing this take because we promise that it will be as true to life as possible. What do you think?
Yeah, go on. Your
So, yeah, I do know
mother-in-law.
that in my head, my mother-in-law is very old. In my head, when I see her in the kitchen at 11 o'clock when I wake up, in my head it is her time slot. So after that मैं थोड़ी सी चौड़ी हो जाती हूँ, नहीं नहीं आपको हटना होगा, नहीं नहीं आपको झाड़ू छोड़ना होगा, ये वो. But it's very helpful for me to compartmentalize my time frame of being irresponsible. If I'm able to compartmentalize that slot, that this is me
Hmm.
being me, And those of you who know me, and you know that I get up late because I sleep very very late. Sometimes I don't sleep all the way until like very early hours in the morning, and I sometimes I'm reading a book or writing something or doing my work, and I know those timings can be shifted, but I don't, because that's my me time. So long story short, I think I'm okay not being the designated driver when I know this is my time slot to be the child.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay, so that is one. What are the other things you do when two people who really want to make things work? And like you said, it could be anybody: parent, child, mother in law, daughter in law, lovers. Yeah, what do you do? How do you bring in fresh perspective when there's a communication breakdown?
Well, I don't know. I'm very, very new to this, and I'm also learning. And I have learned a lot from you in this regard. I think the phrase called "holding space" is some. It's a space. It was a phrase new to me, and you taught me to hold space. I'm really not good at it because I think I'm someone who is someone who wants to engage with themes, ideas, even things that are difficult between families head along, because I think communication is the only way. But I do now know how to sleep over it, at least sleep over my conflicts, or at least to ask the other person, are you in the space to listen to me? If you're not in the space to listen to me, I will not probably speak. So I think that has what has changed, at least.
So another thing that I have been doing with my family, and we've spoken about it earlier, but I've not spoken about why we do it the way we do it. Um, Talking to your family is hard. It's one of the hardest things. Getting them to understand anything can be very difficult. So, part the reason why we introduced the whole chit thing that we've spoken about in previous episodes, but some of you might not have seen the previous episodes. So, just for your sake, I would do like a recap. The idea was that 1 week into the relationship, 1 week into the workshop, we created 14 chits. No, not 14, 12 chits for created by all of us, for by Sabika, for by Sabika's mother and father. Now, what we did was in those chits, we wrote down interpersonal communication hurdles that have been going on and on for years on a loop. We pick out a chit every session, like at the end of a workshop session, and we give half an hour to that. And that chit goes around the room. So whoever's written the chit starts by saying, by offering empathy to that problem in the way that, okay, so for example, my mother writes something about why do my daughters not listen to me. So, how she is expected to offer empathy is by going back to the time when she was a daughter and when she did not listen to her mother. So, the idea is that for the first time, at least she's attempting to look at us from the perspective of her life and like her lived experience, which hasn't ever happened. Like, for the first time, there's the ability to not alienate the problem and actually do it as a community and do it together, like actually take ownership of the problem as this is our problem and let's do this together. And strictly nobody is allowed to give any examples from within the family when they're talking. Like they can't take our names, because more often than not, like if this is my deodorant and if I really want to look at it, I have to look at it from this distance. If I want to look at it from this distance, I'm not going to really see it. So just sort of introducing breathing space. The idea is that if you give an example from say work or from a relation, I end up giving a lot of examples from your and my equation, because they know you, they respect you, they understand you, and they also understand our relationship, so it really works. Like examples from how you and I've worked through things really help me work things with my parents. So yes, who's the designated driver is my first question. It's like a thumb rule. Like if for instance I can sense that you need me more than I need you, I'll just shut up. I won't want to drive this. Or if I know that both of us need each other, then I would like to say that maybe we need like a third person to intervene, or more time till either of us is stable. Basically, park the car if we can't get a third driver. And then, of course, what I just spoke about, creating space for empathy, not looking at a communication problem as you're the problem, so you get me a solution, but this is our problem and let's look at a solution together. And then, yeah, the last thing that I said was just this, that breathing space. When you're giving examples, when you're trying to make a point, give examples from a space which isn't between the two of you, but an example from a separate situation that you might have been in. I think all of these things really help.
I mean, I would love to learn more points from you in which, I mean, what happens when, see, you're also talking to a fairly, your parents, for instance, are also aware that you would probably expect you to design a workshop if the communication is not working out. Expect some kind of creative forms of communication for you. In traditional family settings, it's really hard to uh, bring about this kind of creativity and find these alternative ways in which the same thing can be said. So yes, if there is a communication channel, you need to find a way to find a communication channel. Then I think it's a lot of hard work. That bit in itself is a lot of hard work. How do you talk to somebody? And I don't think anyone can have answers to this, except for the fact that maybe just breathing through when you're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, or if not that, then maybe just asking the other person who you want to have communication with, that is this the right time for me to speak to you, because I really want to
Hmm.
speak to you. I think that much can be said in a traditional family setting or non-traditional family setting, that okay, can we make space for this conversation. um, if something needs to be said, it needs to be said. And I mean, probably on a signing note, I want to say women in particular, and even men, I would say, really, because of patriarchy, find it very hard to communicate their emotions. Men find it very hard to communicate their emotions, and women find it very hard to register their dissent, especially in the extended family setting. Mad Hatters, that could be another episode. Do let us know what are the communication challenges you are facing. It's easier said than done when someone says we are in this together, but we really are in this together. And on that note,
Yes, some togetherness, love coming your way on the count of three, two, one.
P.S. Love you.
Love you.